Hi guys, we're going to talk about the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. 17 dead, killed by a previous student that went to the school, and we're going to kind of touch on should we arm teachers, and that is a prevalent notion that has come up in light of the incident and how we've had about 18 mass shootings, school shootings, and it's only been February of 2018. So that kind of tells the gravity of the situation and how our gun control laws are not where they should be or where they could be. When you have countries like the UK that have really cracked down on their gun laws and controlling guns and saying like, oh, you cannot have handguns, or they're very strict, it shows that the United States is very far back in that sense. So we're going to talk about should we arm teachers? Should we also, what are your feelings about school shootings and the students that are being advocates for the cause of gun control, anti-gun control, and saying that as the next generation we need to make a stand and enforce our politicians to actually do something in their positions of power and to really put out legislation that makes sure school shootings don't happen again of the magnitude like it did in Parkland. So I open this discussion to you guys and saying, what do you guys think about the school shootings and the voices of the students that were most impacted?
Personally, like, I think it's like super impressive, and like it's just like we're the next generation of like leaders and stuff, and it's hopeful to see like kids that are speaking out and like speaking up for what they believe in and standing up for what they believe in, like especially when it hits home and like you really understand like the magnitude of the situation. And so for them to like be able to go to their senators and to Congress and demand change, it just like really speaks volumes, and I think that we need like a lot more of that, you know, and that's like a really good first step.
I think that there's something actually with a lot of volume that comes from actual victims of shootings and people who are actually affected by it, aka students, so like kids 18 and under, well, unless you're in college, who are actually coming forward, because politicians aren't doing anything for it. They're supposed to be our representatives, but they're not doing anything about it. So it's gotten to the point where it's taken this many shootings for like actually there to be a chance for some change. Because even after Sandy Hook, they didn't do anything. After like actual babies were shot. So I mean, like, it isn't going to take high schools getting shot for politicians to do anything. They haven't done anything like up to now. So I think it's important that the youth actually take charge of this movement, because we're the ones being affected by it. And, you know, no one else is going to do it, so you know what, we got to get our hands dirty and take care of it ourselves.
A big issue that we need to dismiss as, you know, the United States as a whole is we have a huge gun culture as opposed to all the other countries in the world. The United States, at the time during the Revolutionary War, it was based off guns and self-defense and defending your own from people who want to invade. So that's why, in my opinion, I think it's been so difficult in the past for people to forget about this gun culture, because we don't live in a society to where, you know, law is not the most prevalent thing. We have so many interconnected abilities to contact each other that, you know, self-defense, like, oh, I need like a gun to defend my family, it's 200 years in the past. But people still want to hold on to that because it's part of the Constitution, and we just need to learn to realize is we get more out of not having the weaponry as we see in other countries like the United States and Japan. Japan had 11 gun deaths last year, I think was the fact. The United States had 12,500. In Japan, you can still get a gun, you can get all the same guns that you have here, except you have to go through rigorous testing, a process that takes about a year per gun. And like you brought up earlier before this podcast, it was a really good point that you made is, when we present it to people in this country who do have guns, like, hey, like, hey, you have your guns, and they're offended by the idea of them being taken away. And like you said, that just really shows that you aren't well equipped to have the gun. I don't know, it's such a messy situation to where we need to start enacting on it. Clearly, as you know, crunching the numbers, there's a school shooting now every 2.5 days in America. That's a huge prevalent issue that puts all of us at risk. While it's not happening at every school, clearly it's demonstrated that the possibility for it to happen at any school, it's in the air. It's happening at elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges. There's no preventing what people will do. So I don't think anyone really wants to take away all of the guns. I think people just want to put it into the hands of the right people.